I'm Mike Seiler in the USA, and I raise short-faced Budapest and I raise African owls. And at times, the youngsters give you a hard time and you have to hand feed them. So there's a lot of different ways to hand feed, and I'm going to show you a method that was derived about 50 years ago by a guy by the name of Bill Myers. And what he did was he took fish tank tubing that has a 3/8 diameter, and he took a piece of plastic and he cut it off a foot long. And on one end of the tube, he melted it. He didn't close it off, but he left it so that it would be slightly smaller than the other end. And then what he did was he inserted it into a bulb like this, which could be taken from a baby enema or from an ear syringe. And what you do is you take the plastic and you shove it into the bulb, so now you have something like a baster. And what you do with this is you draw water up into the bulb, and then you get yourself some newer peas, because peas are round and they'll come out of the tube rather easily. So I'm using Canadian peas, and the peas have to be small enough to fit inside the tube, and the diameter at the end of the tube is 3/8 of an inch. And of course the peas have to be smaller than the tube to fit in, and you should use new peas. They can't be cracked and they can't be scaling because they'll stick inside of the tube. And then what you do is you take your baby pigeon that's giving you a hard time learning how to eat, and you hold him and you gently open his mouth, and you place the tube past the opening, and you just drop the peas in on him. And if you wanted to give him more, you can give him some more. You shouldn't give them too much water because you could drown them. You can always add water later on, but if you want to feed them and you don't want to feed them again until at night, you can feed them twice. And just try not to squeeze the crop, because you have water in there and you don't want to bring the water up and then make him choke on it. So you can just give it to him and he's absolutely fine. And this can be done on any size baby bird as long as you can fit the tube in. Now I have a real small youngster here that was abandoned by the parents because it was cold outside, and you can do the same. The only thing I would caution you with on this one is to use very little water, so that when you're trying to fill him up, you're only going to be filling him up with the peas, because we can add water later on with a syringe. The same thing, you don't have to worry about drowning him.
Wait. Go.
Just open it up and drop the peas in, and he's good until tomorrow morning. No duress, nothing at all to be afraid of. Just don't force the syringe in, because if you put too much pressure on him, you could hurt his crop. But he's filled, and if you wanted to give him water, just plain water later on, just use a simple syringe in case the water leaves the crop and then he has the peas left in there, because the peas will swell up a little bit and they'll last a little longer. You can give him soft food, but I'll do that in another video. So I'm going to do this again for you with another bird that's giving me a hard time. I'll fill the tube up again first. Just drop the peas in. Make sure they go to the bottom. They can't fall into the bowl because one side of the syringe is closed. You take the baby and hold him. Open his mouth and just drop the peas in. Now, the gentleman who taught me how to do this in modern times is Gene Pardini in Pennsylvania, because he raises English tumblers, and he's about 83 years old, and he remembered Bill doing this, and he knew I was raising African owls in the Budapest, and he says, "Mike, you should try this." And then my friend Santo Mealy told me where to get this plastic tubing, and this plastic tubing is manufactured for fish tank hobbyists. It's some kind of underground filter piping, and it's called clear plastic PVC. It comes 3 foot long. You cut it into 1 foot pieces, file off the end so that it's nice and smooth, so you're not going to cut the baby, and insert the other end, and like I said, you can warm it up on the stove, and you can feed as many times as you want just by taking the peas and adding them in. if I have a few pigeons to do, I'll do this. If I have many pigeons to do, I'll use a soft gruel that I make out of a poultry pellet. But I can take that same white bird and I can give him the second feeding, and he'll be good until tomorrow morning, and he's absolutely fine. Of course, they fly away on you sometimes, but he should be eating on his own in a little bit, but at least he's full, and you get to save a real nice show specimen when you normally would lose him. So that's how I hand feed in the USA, and I hope I helped you out.